No.
So you never visited the scene of the actual homicide?
No, I did not.
Did you have an occasion to respond to 927 Sunset Drive?
Yes, I did.
What was your purpose in going there?
I was advised to go to that house and collect some clothing.
Did you know who the clothing belongs to?
The wife of the victim.
Now, what happened when you arrived there?
I knocked on the door. I was let in by the house.
Objection, relevant.
Please continue.
She led me to the bathroom where the clothing was. I photographed, collected it, and left.
Showing defense I'm showing you State's Exhibits 21 and 22. Do you recognize those?
Yes,
How do you recognize them?
because that's the clothing I collected.
And do those photographs fairly and accurately depict the clothing as you found it that day?
Well, it was on the floor, wadded up. I opened it up to photograph it, but yes.
Move publish. How did you go about collecting this clothing?
In what manner?
How did you physically collect it?
Put gloves on, put it in a brown paper bag, and transport it back to the office.
Was Jackie Garcia present at any point in time while you were there?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
It's going to be the same objection, relevance. There's no dispute that those clothes were collected by Jackie Garcia.
Objection to the speaking objection for future reference.
Sustain this question.
Was that the extent of your involvement in this case?
That was it.
Thank you. I have nothing further at this time.
No questions.
No questions? All right, you'll be explained. Officer State, right next to this.
Thank you.
This time the state called Wayne Watkins.
Sir, please step forward with your right hand in front of the lips. Swear you in.
Do you swear or affirm that evidence you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, have a seat over here, sir. There's a microphone so we can do it, so we can hear you. And when you're ready, Mr. Brown, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Kenyon Wayne Watkins.
How are you employed?
I'm employed with the Miami-Dade Police Department.
In what capacity?
I'm assigned to the Crime Scene Investigations Bureau.
How long have you been with the Crime Scene Investigations Bureau?
I've been with the Bureau 18 years. I've been on this will be my 24th year on the department.
And what are your responsibilities on the Crime Scene Bureau?
In the Crime Scene Bureau, we assist our detective bureaus in the processing of their crime scenes. We take their photographs to document their scenes. We collect their physical evidence that we submit to the lab for analysis. We do sketches, we lift fingerprints, we collect DNA, things of that nature.
I want to draw your attention specifically to November 26th of 2007. Do you recall that date?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to respond to a residence located at 18050 Old Cutler Road?
Yes.
And what was your purpose in responding there?
There had been a burglary to a residence, an occupied burglary, where the victim homeowner was shot.
Were you the only crime scene technician that responded?
No, I had two others that responded to assist.
And were you the lead crime scene technician?
I was, yes.
And what is the significance of that, if you could explain this to the jury?
Lead crime scene detective basically oversees the procedures that are done on the crime scene and assigns tasks to some of the other crime scene detectives, like one person will take the photographs, one person's going to collect DNA, another person does a sketch. Kind of spreads out the work so that everything's done.
Showing the defense states 3K for identification. Mr. Watkins, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 3K for identification. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
This is the residence at 18050 Old Cutler Road.
And does that photograph fairly and accurately depict the residence that you responded to that day?
Yes, it does.
They were published? Or, excuse me, at this time, the state moves 3K into evidence.
Have you admitted?
This is a good mark identification, 3K, now this comes State's Exhibit number 32.
May you publish?
You may.
Officer Watkins, it's an aerial shot of the house that you responded to that day, is that correct?
That is, yes.
What did you see when you first arrived on the scene?
On the scene itself was secured with crime scene tape out in front of the residence along Old Cutler Road.
What did the outside of the scene appear to be before you actually went through the gates?
As far as just the scene was secure, no one was inside the premises at that point, other than the detectives.
Do you recall whether the gates were open or closed when you arrived?
I don't recall. I want to show you what's already in evidence, State's Exhibit 23. Do you recognize that? Yes.
And does that photograph fairly and accurately depict the scene as you responded to it that day?
Yes.
If I could ask you to step down for a second, Mr. Watkins. Taking a look at State's Exhibit 23 in evidence, there appears to be two gates, one here on the right side and one here on the left side of the house. Is that correct? That is. Could you please point out to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury on State's Exhibit 32 where those gates are found in that photograph? The gates are here and here. When you responded to the scene, you could step down. Did you have an opportunity to investigate the area around those gates to see if there was any evidence of any kind?
Yes, we, first of all, there's a concrete wall that extends across the front of the property on either side of the gate. And there's electric motor boxes that actually actuate and move those gates open and close with a chain. We noticed some shoe wear impressions on top of the motor boxes there on the inside of the wall.
Showing the defense states 2Q, right? Showing you states, 2Q for ID. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
This is the photo taken that day. This is the actual cover over the gate motor, and the electrical box right next to it that supplies electricity to that motor.
And does it fairly and accurately depict what those items look like that day?
Yes.
State moves 2Q into evidence.
You did?
State's Exhibit mark identification 2Q, now it comes State's Exhibit number 33.
Taking a look at State's Exhibit 33, is that the electrical box and cover from the north gate or from the south gate in the house?
And that would be the south gate.
May we publish?
You may.
Showing the defense states 2P for identification. I'm showing you states 2P for identification. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
This is the top of that motor cover.
And does this photograph fairly and accurately depict the motor cover?
Yes.
State moves 2P into evidence.
State's exhibit marked by identification 2P now becomes state's exhibit number 34.
If I could have you step down for a moment, Mr. Watkins. Showing the jury State's Exhibit 34, can you point out to them where it appeared to you that there were some shoe wear impressions?
As you can see, the ridges, lines, right in this area here. They're faint, but they're there.
You can have a seat. Showing the defense states 3H, right here. I'm showing you states 3H for identification. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
This is the top of the electrical box right next to that motor cover we just saw.
And does it fairly and accurately depict what that box looked like that day?
Yes.
This time the state moves 3H into evidence.
State's exhibit marked by identification 3H now becomes state's exhibit number 35.
If I could have you again step down for a moment. Showing the jury State's Exhibit 35, can you point out areas where it appears to you that there were shoe wear impressions?
There's a lot of shoe wear impressions here kind of overlapping each other, so, but the majority of the print is here and here in this portion of the picture.
Thank you. Nancy. In addition to photographing the motor cover and the electrical box, did you also physically encounter those items?
We did.
And what was the purpose of doing that?
We had those submitted to our firearms section, ID section. They do shoe wear impressions. They have all types of models and makes of shoes that they can compare to find out what type of shoes those were.
For the record, Steve is going to show the defense states 3Q identification. I'll show you for a moment. It states 3Q for identification. Do you recognize that?
Yes, this is the motor cover, electric-driven motor cover that I impounded that day.
And how do you recognize it?
My initials, my badge, my initials, the date, case number, and the description of the item are on the cover.
Could you explain for the benefit of the jury what all the different pieces of red tape with all the initials and markings mean on an item like this?
This is our evidence tape. Basically, this is a very thin, tamper-proof tape that we place on all the seals or a bag is closed. Any type of trying to open a container or anything, this tape will rip very easily.
And when you seal a particular item of evidence with the evidence tape, do you initial it and document the case number?
Yes, just like I have here, my badge number and the initials here.
Now suppose that piece of evidence goes somewhere else and someone else has an opportunity secretary to open it and inspect it and then seals it again. Would they have a responsibility to also, on the evidence, take initial and document that as well?
Correct, and they're, along with the property receipt that goes with this, they also document their name, date, and the time that they took custody and gave up custody of the item on the property receipt.
Does it appear to you, based on the amount of red tape and the varying initials all over it, that it has been opened and closed again, other than when you first initially had it?
Correct.
At this point, the state moves 3Q into evidence.
This is a marked by identification 3Q, not to come state exhibit number 36.
Yeah.